want Mexico dirt poor? They're working with that oligarchy. They're working with it. They love that giant pool of starving, desperate people down there. They love to oppress, and desperate people are easy to oppress. That's what's going on here. They want us all desperate and scared. It's their pound of flesh. It's the way they get reverence. They keep us in fear, in insecurity, through the money, through Satan. We've got to step back from this thing and understand what I'm saying makes a lot of sense. And here's another point I want to make on this unreality that's been forced upon us, foisted upon us, crammed down our throats. And this is this idea of disruptive technology. The word technology is a relatively new term. Through the ages, the word was always knowledge, okay? So if you dissect the word technology, you see knowledge in there, okay? Knowledge, disruptive technology. This idea, we humans are being blamed for messing up the earth, for, well, we're burning dirty fuels and all this, and the CO2 and the pollution and all this. It's all humans' fault. But then we got, of course, the planned obsolescence, and now we're talking about disruptive technology. Disruptive technology, because it's not in the interest, it's a conflict of interest to the oil companies, for example. They're just one example in this thing, because there's all this collusion, all these special interest groups. Who needs a monopoly, okay, when you've got collusive special interest groups? You don't need it. That's it. You just join up. You say, hey, well, I know how to get in that little niche. Now I've got an interest in manipulating that market. I got an interest in fixing those prices. Okay, do you understand what's going on here? They've got us at each other's throats. They confuse us. They make us ignorant as hell. They dumb us down. To what end? So that we can stay divided and confused. So, hey, you know what? My mind's made up. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. Or my mind's made up. I'm voting for Donald Trump. I don't care what they say at the debates. I don't care what they stand for anymore. My pride is up. My defense is up. I'm not going to hear anybody. Okay? I mean, it's so emblematic of what's going on out there. This morning I was watching an episode of Cops on TV. You know, and they had this guy, this poor bastard had crack cocaine, you know, falling down. He was trying to gobble it up and get rid of the evidence. His brother had just been murdered. I mean, it just, even the cops, you see, this guy's, he's just completely out of whack. And what is this? This is this money. What was the homicide for? What was it about money? How many homicides out there have to do with money? Do you understand? All these drugs and the territories and the hood, all this violence, the gangs and all this stuff, of course it has to do with money. The allure. Hey, man, look at that guy. Look, he's driving that nice car, man. He's pimping down the streets, and the cops don't bother him. And, you know, he's somebody, right? Because he can afford attorneys and all this, right? To keep him off his back. So he's kind of a kingpin in the hood, right? We know there's a lot of violence. Look at the streets of Chicago, a gun-free zone. Gun-free zone, Chicago, and they've got the highest gun violence in the country. Does that tell us something about, you know, the safety of owning weapons? But we should have to worry so much. We should, you know, society should be a place of safety if we were making progress. We'd see poverty dry up. Ending poverty is the greatest disruptive knowledge, the greatest disruptive technology out there. Okay, because now that the problems, the social ills are etched in stone, so to speak, okay, now all these jobs revolve around the problems, okay, and if the problems disappear, guess what? All those jobs disappear in the prison industry, in the court system. Think about all the many millions of people out there that are involved in this to some capacity. This is an example of a special interest group. This is like Eisenhower warning of the military-industrial complex because it's a business. Yep, duh. So false flags, that's an archaic term. They've been using that for thousands of years. Well, doesn't it go back to Julius Caesar or something? I mean, it's not hard to figure out how this works. It's just a frame up on a grand scale. That's it. We want to go to war. We want to make money. We want control, power, money, control. All these things go together. You just have to abandon your conscience and abandon your integrity, forsake your soul, and join the club. You know, but you can't have one foot in and one foot out and expect that you're going to get to inherit a better world. You've got to be worthy to inherit that better world. You've got to spend time imagining what it's going to be like in a world without money, Will you hate it or will you love it? Okay, I personally want to be ready. I want to be ready to love a world entirely without money, and I want to have just an ounce of faith that I am going to serve of my own free will and accord. I'm going to be so grateful to all the people out there that do all the things they do for me, okay, that I'm going to do back. I'm going to give back of my own instinct because I have a godly instinct. I don't need to be beaten and whipped and kept hungry and desperate and scared and insecure, revering my money master overlords, okay? And the kingpin being that spirit of Satan. Whether there's an entity like the devil or not, it doesn't matter. But they're tapped into that same thing, okay? It's very clear. Words have meaning, and bad is bad and good is good. Lies are lies and truth is truth. Okay, that's just the way it is. So you've got to be able to call a spade and say, no, that is rotten fruit coming out of that guy. Okay, and I'm not judging him in the sense I'm not going to condemn him. He's God's property. But I see the fruits coming out of this New World Order cabal and all the associated minions, all those people that are wittingly and unwittingly following this gaggle of merciless thugs without a conscience, without a soul. That's who these people are. Well, you're following them into hell, and it's a torrent, a raging torrent, because they know it's not working. They know they've been exposed. It's illogical, just like the pond scum that is raced to the top now, and it's being exposed to the light of day, the light of truth, and the fresh air, the spirit of truth is in there, just exposing it more and more and more. It's going to be neutered. It's going to lose all its power, but it's going to be painful as we got to smell the stench as it starts drying up and decomposing. But all these people are going to be thrown down. Evil isn't going to end up winning this battle, even though they appear to have been on top for thousands of years. Thousands of years, folks. We're in the same predicament. And it's all about money. And people out there that want to, hey, it's about this and that and this. Yeah, we'll examine deeper and understand that it's all about money. Everything, all of our social ills are all about money. The prison industry, all this crime, the vast majority is because of financial desperation. The dubious warfare, we're not going to go after these dubious guys. Aren't going to do it. They're going to say, no, wait a minute, you know what? It's not going to be there. Our paradigm would be so different if we didn't have planned obsolescence, if we didn't have, worries about disruptive technology, okay? Whereby, everything's easier. It just gets easier and easier. And we don't care that, you could turn you got a robot lawnmower that you can set up and just goes and mows your lawn automatic. In fact, that's probably a great invention right there. Okay, but you say, well, what about the poor bastard that used to, be paid by the hour to run that? Now you don't need him anymore. Well, that's the way it goes. Okay, but it helps us. If it makes the work easier, fine. I mean, maybe there'll be machines that can build us houses and put in the plumbing. Who can worry about it? But for now, I'll tell you this much, is that you do need a mechanic to fix your car. There's no way. Robots are so far from doing so many jobs, none of us have to worry about that. Okay, the reason you worry about that is because these people have been in control. They just keep wrecking things up. It's through the debasement of the currency. That's anti-progress. That's regression. Okay, if you're making progress, the worth of your currency does one thing: it goes up. It doesn't matter how slowly, how gradually, how incrementally, but it goes up. Life used to be a lot harder a couple hundred years ago for people because they didn't have automation, they didn't have industrialization. I mean, it was starting back a couple of hundred years ago. But, now it's, reached a fine art. It's a science now, and, we've really refined it. And so a lot of jobs are a whole lot easier, and we just say, no, we got to go back to, the horse and plow and the ox and plow and because it's going to create jobs. Is that what we should do? Well, we can't use, if you take it to the nth degree, you see where this thing goes. No more state-of-the-art tools for anything. So the builders can't use them. We got to get rid of all the heavy equipment out there because that took somebody's job. And we got to go back. We got to regress and do everything by hand. We can't do that. So who's to tell anybody else where they should draw the line? If these clowns want to produce self-driving cars, fine, let them have all fun all they want driving around in their driving cars. I don't want any part of it. And if people don't buy it, don't buy it. It's like a boycott. Boycotts are effective. That's what people say. They put your money where your mouth is, where your beliefs are. You know what I mean? So if you don't support it, don't spend on it. If you support it, then you spend your money on it. Okay? Your energy. That's what it would be. If we just had the barter system now, it'd be infinitely better than this system that is so skewed, so crooked. Advantage, disadvantage paradigm. I mean, how is it okay that the Rockefellers inherit wealth, or the Rothschilds, and all these uber wealthy families, they keep handing it down? How is it that this group of these Federal Reservists have the copyright to the money printing? That's huge. And how come you don't have it? I'd trust anybody watching my videos with the copyright to the money more than these suckers. Anybody. Okay? Because look, the point is that sound money is a means to an end. Okay, that's what we got to understand. That we want to be free completely. And if we're to be free completely and still have prosperity, because money and prosperity need to have nothing to do with each other. Money is a concept. It manifests itself in many different ways. Some people think of money as gold, as stocks, as bonds, as any number of things. Digital money. Right? There's all sorts of money out there in manifestations. But really, it's a concept at the end of the day. We know that if they can print pieces of paper that represent money, well, we say, well, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful. All the goods, all the commodities, all the services you could ever want in perpetuity. So how is it that we are okay with this? How is it that we're all okay with people inheriting vast sums of money and wealth when they didn't do anything to get it? We say, well, but that's natural. I mean, you as a parent, wouldn't you leave everything to your kids? And I think, sure. But, who ultimately is our parents? Okay, it's God Almighty. He created all of us. This is His planet. We're His creatures. Anything we do and accomplish and build, whatever, it belongs to God, because He gave us the brain and the hands and the feet, the wherewithal to put it all together. So if God had His way, which is coming, may God's will be done. When it comes to the presidential thing, I just hope the right thing happens there. That's it. It's all very sketchy and weird. A lot of people think Obama's going to stay in, and Russia's going to take over, and maybe it is. Maybe it's all going to happen, just like the Bible says, because our guys, basically, our high up, generals and whatnot in the military, they generally get along with the Russians. They know the Russians aren't being provocative. They know it's guys like George Soros, believe it or not, but billionaires have a lot of power. Money talks. They could cause a lot of power. We all know you can hire mercenaries, hire killers, basically, to be troublemakers, cause trouble. For example, in the Ukraine, all over the world, this what Hillary Clinton did over in the Middle East, with this, the Arab Spring. Oh, this is their time to be free. And look, how much better is it now? It's completely screwed up. My heart breaks. I see these stories. This guy is giving out toys to these children in war-torn areas, like Aleppo, all over Syria. And it just breaks my freaking heart, man. I can't take much more of this. I feel like Alex Jones sometimes. He just gets into these modes where he can't take it. I mean, I'm never going to kill myself, believe me. I love life. This is intriguing and interesting and fun and exciting and exhilarating. It's fantastic. I love it. It's wonderful. But, that sometimes you just reach that point where you say, this really sucks, man. How far down are we going to go before we, finally stop going down? Because it's not okay. I'm not okay with the homeless being murdered in mass. I'm not okay with genocide being committed right under our noses in the land of the free and the home of the brave. What the hell's going on here? And these wars, how are we supposed to be okay with this? How? How are you going to sit there and be okay with the debasement of your currency, knowing it's going to cause more crime? It's just going to perpetuate. It's just going to go on and on. More dubious war, more debt. Nobody's even confronting. Nobody's talking about it. Just kick the can. Ignore it. My numbers are still going up sufficiently. Just kick the can down the road to future generations. Let them deal with it. We're all dealing with it right in the here and now through currency debasement. Understand, if I borrow $100 from you, and I say, yeah, I'll pay you back when I feel like it, over time. And so by the time 10 years later I pay you back, your $100 is worth $10, okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's it, because now it's $100 is the equivalent of $1,000. Do you get how this works and how they're paying the debt off? So who ends up always paying? It's the guy at the bottom. The same reporter, David Knight, this is another thing. He's always talking about, mocking this $15 an hour wage. Yeah, I think it's stupid to come up with a figure, because $15 isn't nearly